I'm Emma Scrivener and I'm joined by the gorgeous
Dominique Hilaire.
Very nice. So Domi, what have we got coming up next?
Coming up next, we have the round 3 of Dynamic Two-Way, which is going to be a speed round. So the draw for this is a head-down switching snake, a butterfly, and a mixed circle. So I'll make sure I'll run you guys through it when the flyers are actually in there and performing it, so everybody can understand exactly what we're looking at.
Absolutely. So for round 1, we had a pretty fast round, didn't we? We had head down snake, back layout, and head down circles.
Which is definitely one of the fastest possible round.
Exactly. And then for round 2, we had head up in face snake. We had classic, and then we had mixed shuffler, so a pretty slow round.
Fairly slow, yeah.
What are you predicting for round 3?
Actually, we have kind of a mix of two. The head-down switching snake is a fairly fast snake to fly. The butterfly doesn't take too long. The mixed circle is definitely going to put a few seconds on there.
So this is going to be an interesting one. So we've had no really major surprises so far, have we?
No, I would say that the teams on top are, for most of them, kind of expected. I don't think that the one we have on the website right now don't seem completely correct. I'm assuming that maybe some of the free rounds have been added to that, which is mixing it up. So we'll get back to you on this because I don't think what's on the website right now is completely accurate.
Well, as soon as we have some scores, we will get them, yes. Won't we? And it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens at the end of the day when those free round scores get added onto the cumulative speed scores. And we are going to get that ranking. So we're going to have from 1 down to 20. And it's the top 6 teams, isn't it, that are going to go through to the quarterfinals.
Yes, it is.
And then there are 2 slots open. So the top 6 teams are going to go straight through to the quarterfinals. And then tomorrow there are going to be many, many battles. And the end result of that is that 2 teams are going to be joining those 6 teams in the quarterfinals.
Yes, the Wind Games have always been known for experimenting with formats and even disciplines, right? And this year we're definitely seeing something very new in the Dynamic Two-Way, which is fairly interesting. So as you described, the top 6 teams of the 2 days tournament will move on to Saturday's quarterfinal, but they will still fly around tomorrow determining, like recreating a new ranking among those 6, because what's very important in the tournament is who meets who at the beginning, right? Yeah. And that's what those rounds are for, because you don't want the top teams of the qualifier to meet each other too early on, because if they kill each other, figuratively speaking, too early in the tournament, then you're going to end up with teams that are not as strong, potentially moving up a bit artificially up to the finals. So that's the reason behind this ranking being very accurate.
Yeah.
And the way it's going to go tomorrow, instead of having head-to-head battles like we have in other competition, we're going to have like a pool of 4 or 5 teams competing together, and then they're going to do a free round and a speed round. The cumulative score is going to give a final score. The top of those 4 or 5 is going to move up to the next level, and then the one that are not going to be saving themselves will get their ranking. So starting tomorrow, it's a knockout tournament. Today, everybody's flying every round, giving a first ranking. Tomorrow, people are going to start going down.
It's very exciting. Oh, I love the format of these. And as you mentioned, Windor often like to do something a little bit different. So
and it's really good, you know, like the FAI competition are where like the work that everybody's putting together is kind of like established and set in stone a little bit, which is necessary for the sports to grow, but also we don't want to stay too stuck on that, and we need to keep experimenting, and that's what private competition like here in the Wind Games or what we're going to be doing in the Sakura Cup in April are there for. We're experimenting with new rules, trying things. Some of them works, and if they works and all the flyers are happy with it, then we'll implement them for the FAI competition for the World Championship. And if it doesn't work, if the flyer don't like it, then we'll get rid of it. But some of them, without trying it, actually in a competition setup, you can't really know if it works or not. So it's really good that private competition are willing to experiment like this and try new things.
And it's it's a brave move. It's trying new things. It's easy to stick with the same old tried and tested, but trying something new, Windor are not afraid to push those boundaries. Wind Games always brings something huge and something exciting, like the introduction of music, all these scoring systems. it's just great. And, where are we going to be in 3 years' time?
Yeah, I think that's the exciting part of being at the beginning of something, right? Like those disciplines are very new. Tunnel competitions are very new, so we're in this very inheriting phase of experimenting, trying new things. So I think it's very exciting, and a lot of us are very thrilled by that.
I know. Domi in particular as a big person in this world, looking at all the dynamic workshops, everything you've been doing in Sofia. This sport is evolving, and we've got these incredibly talented flyers, judges, all of these people are involved in just pushing our sport further and further, and hopefully even to the Olympics.
That's definitely one of the goals that we've been following for the last few months. Nothing's done yet. Obviously, no. It's a bit of quite a big challenge, but a few group of people are pushing towards that. And at the moment, France is definitely on the leading edge of it because they're in a very special position of hosting the next, the next are in Tokyo in 2020, which we're planning on organizing a competition in the same time as well. But 2024 in Paris, we are still open for new discipline, new events.
Wow.
And that's what France has been pushing. And I saw earlier in the audience, just walking into the tunnel today, Jillian Rayner, who is the brand new IPC president. She was just elected a few days ago. So Jillian, if you hear us. And she's the one who introduced indoor into the IPC. She's been presenting that for a few years. It's been rejected, and she kept at it and kept working for it, pushing for it, trying to explain to the IPC the importance of indoor and how it was, it's going to be part of the future of our sports as flyers. And she succeeded and created an indoor committee and now has the head of the IPC, which is, for those who don't know, International Parachuting Commission, which basically is everything skydiving related under the FAI, the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale. Excuse my French. The name is in French because it's been created partly by Frenchies.
That was made for you.
You're welcome. So the IPC works under the FAI and regulates everything for competition and world records. And so that's what we were doing in Sofia just last week, and that's when the Dynamic finally got his own working group, meaning that a handful of flyers, of actual Dynamic flyers, are going to be working towards developing the sports a little bit more officially.
This is very exciting. Domi is one of those people that just works tirelessly behind the scenes. So Domi, I think credit where credit's due. Hard-working Domi here, but now we are heading back to the tunnel. We've got the Jahunis.
So remind you, the draw is going to be a head-down switch, a butterfly, and a mixed circles.
It looks like we've got the time a little bit over where the flyers are. But looking nice. 0 busts so far. So the time is slightly obscuring the tunnel where we would like to see, but we can see that time. So these guys are looking more confident, actually, than they were. They've got 1 bust so far. Time of 53 seconds now.
A bit of an hesitation here, but they're picking it back up. Another sideline bust here. Ooh, and an execution bust. I actually missed it. Finishing, almost went the wrong direction, but kept it together, unfortunately resulting in a centerline bust, and that's a final score of 106.894.
So I think that was faster than their previous round. So well done, Junies. Next up, we've got Gravity. Domi, haven't you just interviewed these boys?
Yeah, Benjamin and Garth really, really nice guys, and they've been training together for a little bit now. I think at the beginning of their competition career, especially Garth was sometimes struggling a little bit with the competition setup, but now it seems like he's really doing better at this, dealing with the nerves better, and actually presenting what they're capable of doing. Their free round was a beautiful example of that. So let's see how they do in this spin round.
Right, so they're
into the head down switching snake, into the butterfly. So butterfly, you see how they're actually crossing on top. Huh? They do 2 crosses, ending up in the same original position. And now into the headed part of the mixed circles, back on their head, starting the second page. So they were about 23 seconds starting their second page. That's looking good so far, especially if they can keep it clean. The time to beat for now is 1:06.8 and 9:4, and it's looking good for the boys.
Looked like a slight hesitation there, but beautifully rescued.
All right, getting into the final page on the 46-second mark. Still 0 bust, flying clean, really looking good for the boys. Oh, just as I said that. Not quite sure which bust that was. We lost a bit of our information there. Hopefully that will be back up really quick. All right, and then back on their head, just doing the compulsory exits out the door. All right, not quite sure what the time will be. I don't know if we just lost it on the screen here on the live stream or if something's going on with the judging system. I guess we're about to find out.
Oh, next up is the Beach Boys. Game faces on, boys. They're looking quite serious now. They had I think did you also interview those a few minutes ago?
Indeed I did.
Very focused team. The Beach Boys came to Win Games last year, Win Games 2017. They're just looking so much more confident. Right, okay, tunnel is ready. Helmets are being done up. Last little hug. So Domi, what was the draw for this one again?
It's a head-down switching snake, a butterfly, and a mixed circle. Going for a running entrance. Lots of power in that entrance here. Flying really precise, looking good on the center line. And the center line is something that was introduced for two-way dynamic because when we originally just applied the rule for four-way to two-way, we realized that it was really easy to cheat and then do it on one side of the tunnel only. So to make sure that the flyers would actually fly the lines the way they were intended to be flown, we introduced the center line, which is extra work for the judges. Definitely a tough one to judge sometimes, but makes it way more readable for everybody.
Absolutely, makes it a better competition for us.
Looking good here. Still missing that time, unfortunately.
They're looking fast though, Domi.
Yeah, really fast here on those mixed circles. They're about to get back on their head and go into their compulsory exit. Ooh. Probably lost half a second here. Not too bad, but it's definitely a big thing, the exits. You can be flying really fast, and then when you see the teams are so close to one another, and sometimes that difference is not so much into the entire flight, but can be just on the entrance or on the exits.
Well, we saw in that first round, didn't we? We saw how close it was. It was 48 point something, 48 point something, 48 point something between, I think, Vipers and Windor teams. It was just, it was just so close. Aspire as well. So, you know, it is these things like getting out of the tunnel. Domi's mentioned it's fractions of a second, but those fractions of a second are so important in this competition.
Yeah, and the exit can be, especially for newer teams, a little bit intimidating because you need to go really like full throttle out that door.
Yeah.
And there's rooms for hurting yourself a little bit. So you really need to be practicing those. Generally, when a team trains, they would drill those exits. Yeah. So get in, out, in, out, in, out. Just really practicing this to be as efficient as possible. So then, when the time comes to actually fly out of the tunnel like this after a round, you know you're going to nail it and not nail yourself.
Absolutely, and I guess we've also got the element of thinking about the free routine. So we've got the speed rounds where the entrance and the exit is really important to make it quick and smooth. And then there's the chance to be more creative when it comes to the free round. So who was it that had the really interesting...
The one you liked very much was the Way Too Dynamic, also known as the Tunnel Air Racers.
Yes! That was quite an entrance and quite an exit. So there's room to be creative with these entrances and exits, which is...
Yeah, and especially in the free round, you actually don't have to do the beginning and the end of your routine from the door. You could start from anywhere in the tunnel. You could start from the net. You could start from anywhere up in the wall, actually. You could even start in the diffuser. You just need to let the judges know. It's mandatory to tell the judges if you're not starting from the door, where you're going to start from, so the time can be started accordingly. But I think there's a lot to be explored on that. Still, most of the team choose to start and finish at the door. And I think there's room for more creativity around that.
Well, I know you yourself, Domi. I believe you've ended your routine on the net. Is that right?
That is right.
I remember a particular. Was it here?
It was here in the Win Games 2017 with Katie. Katie's judging now.
That was quite an emotional round that you flew then.
That was probably my favorite routine that I've ever flown in the tunnel. I really love this routine. I miss flying with Katie.
made me shed a little tear.
Aww.
It was very beautiful.
Bless you.
Okay, it's Team Last Minute.
Team Last Minute. That's actually an interesting mashup of two teams that were supposed to compete here in the Win Games, Los Gringos and Smash Potatoes. And for several reasons, one of the teammate of each team couldn't make it, so they decided to do a last-minute pickup team. Indeed, their name, Last Minute.
Yeah.
And so they have trained only a grand total of 10 minutes together, which is not a whole lot.
But the thing is, Domi, I was, sort of touched on it earlier. You can be the best flyers in the world, but it's so difficult when you haven't trained with a particular person, because it's getting used to their flying style, the coordination, any signals that you might have, because obviously communication is different in the wind tunnel.
I mean, for sure, training is everything. Huh? Like a good team is a team that's gonna train together for the longest time, and that implies a lot of commitment as far as flying goes, but also as far as staying on the team together, which often is the most difficult part. When everybody thinks about doing a team, they think like it's all about how much sponsor time you can get or how much training you can actually get. But people tend to overlook the side of things that is actually the human connection, making the effort, making the sacrifices to set time aside, commit to show up. And honor your commitments, and that's usually what destroys team more than counter performance and actual flying reasons. A lot of going on, definitely a lot of bust for those boys, and again, for sure, with little training, it's difficult to have a clean round.
Oh, one last bust on the way out. That was 6 busts with a total time of 1, 2, 3.
All right, so that is going to place them on the 4th position of the temporary ranking right now, with the fastest round being the VA Beach Boy with a 68.279.
Oh, now we are expecting some fast moves here from Team Aspire. Kaylee Wittenberg, age 13, and her brother Noah Wittenberg, age 11. Mum and Dad are in the audience supporting. Will you just remind us of the draw again, Domi?
And again, the draw is a head-down switching snake, a butterfly, and a mixed circle. You can see how they're holding the door and keeping their body and their belly far behind. That's because of that sensors for the laser that's in. For those who just join us, we remind you that the time is start and finished by a laser technology. So the time starts when the first flyer crosses the laser beam. It finishes when the second flyer crosses it again. And that's the time that are going to be assigned for that performance. So you really don't want to accidentally cross the laser too soon before you're actually ready to fly in.
No, we've seen some teams being caught out by that before, haven't we?
Yeah. Really nice flying so far, clean round, really staying super close to those lines, and that's definitely how you win a round, right? Because it's not only how fast you can fly in the wind, but it's also how short your trajectory is. If you fly far away from the line or far away from the ring, your trajectory is longer, hence your time is going to be longer. But if you fly really close to those lines and keep it really tight, your trajectory is shortest, your time is going to be shorter. So that's all part of the training, is to keep it really tight. And that's what they've just done beautifully.
Well, I think they're going to be pleased with that. 62.881 for Team Aspire.
They are taking the lead with almost over 5 seconds. So even with a bust, they would still have taken the lead here. That's definitely a really, really good score for the Aspire team.
So next up is Women of Steel, Karine Jolie and Magali Bra.
Karen and Magali, also a young team, the sense that they've started training pretty recently. Karen is on Team Airwax, which we've seen another member perform earlier with the Way Too Dynamic team. And she's been doing really, really good in the sky for a few years now. And again, it's really nice to see those flyers, those really good free flyers outdoor, bringing the challenge to the tunnel and challenging themselves and putting themselves in the position of starting again from the bottom up. And teaming up with her is Magali. Ooh, that was a really, really close on the line here. Magali Braff, who's been also flying for years now, very talented flyer, multiple world record holder in different disciplines. So two very badass women teaming up together here.
And they look very coordinated, don't they, in those suits, the helmets, the shoes. They've got similar body types, same injuries, skydiving injuries. It's like they were made to be in a team together.
They're a good match indeed.
They're looking good time-wise.
Yeah,
nice,
about
smooth.
to get out of the tunnel. No bust so far, even though there was one really close call. Ooh, lost a few seconds here.
That was a smile as she came up.
81.88.
So it looks like that will put them in 4th position at the moment. Team Aspire up at the top. Next up is Sonic.
Sonic and Nini Bouet, who's Cathy's sister. She's also a very experienced, talented flyer, and she's been out of the game for a couple of years due to an injury. She actually hurt herself training in the tunnel years ago, and her shoulder took quite a while to recover, and she's back now training. They've been training a lot for the last couple of weeks with Gregor. Obviously, you never train as much as you wish you were, but two very talented flyers here. And really nice chemistry. I love the logo on the back of the suit. A unicorn holding a machine gun. I think that fits them pretty well.
And Cathy is judging, isn't she?
Cathy is judging, yes. Center line bust here in the butterfly. All right, finishing their mixer here. And they're going to flip back on their head to start the second page with the head down switching snake. So you can see, I don't know if you've noticed on the different kind of technique, especially in the snakes, some teams are carving it a little bit more when others are doing more like stalls. Stalls are a bit faster, but it takes definitely different kind of training. All right, finishing the second page here on the 52-second mark with 2 busts on the counter. Into the butterfly, crossing on top. Ooh, that was a central eye bust as well. That's the second central eye bust they have on the butterfly, so maybe something on their training could be polished up a little bit. All right, and they're about to get out of the tunnel with 3 busts and a total score of 98.055. By the look on their face, I can tell that they don't really understand why they bust. I'm pretty sure this center line on the butterfly is not what they expected. So let's see.
So it looks like next up is Wind Stars. Alex and Lewis competed recently at Clash of Lions.
And the Windstar are in, and the time to beat so far is coming from the Aspire with a 62.881. Looking good so far, no bust. Getting into this second butterfly, pretty much in the middle of their routine now, is about 32 seconds. That's really looking fast for the boys. All right, getting into their final mixer. They're gonna come close, but not fast enough. Ooh, a little bit of a wobble here. And they're out with a clean score of 69.006.
69, so could have been a little bit faster if not for that hesitation, but still good score, clean round. One of the 3 Windor teams here today.
And next up, Hurricane Factory Madrid with Sheshmir and David. Hurricane Factory, another one of those tunnels who's been really supporting a lot of teams, hosted competitions. We had the Knights of Prague in 2013, which was one of our first dynamic four-way competition back in the days when we were babies and didn't really know what we were doing. And they were one of the first tunnels to support us and help us. And to this day, they are a supporting team and are producing some of the best flyer in the community.
Time has started. They're looking fast.
Nice here on the butterfly, getting into the first mixer, which is a mixed circle. And so the mixed circle starts with head down circles and finishes with a half head up out face. Okay, getting towards the middle of the routine on the 33-second mark. And the half out face I was talking about, back on their head. Getting ready for the final page, this last head down switching snake. Time to beat for Aspire, 62 seconds.
Got one bust so far. Oh, 2 busts.
Another center line. As you can see, center line is a very often bust. And I think one of the reasons is when you train, you tend to look at the sideline and the ring a little bit more, and another center line.
So time of 89.021. I think that team are going to be having a look at what they were doing with the center line, ensuring they're not going to bust again, because the last thing they need is to bust the center line repeatedly. It builds up throughout the competition. It's going to bring their score way down.
Yeah, and you can see very often when a team busts on the ring or on the sideline, when they get out of the tunnel, they have this look on their face being like, oh, damn, we just busted that. When they bust the center line, they get out of the tunnel like, what was that? Like, not understanding. It's a very overlooked line when we train, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And the teams must know these rules inside out, making sure they train correctly. And another center line bust, Domi.
Yeah, after years of developing the discipline, the rule book is starting to be pretty fat and sometimes a bit feels like a bit annoying to read. Unfortunately, the problem is the more we fly it, the more cheats and ways to go around things are found. So we need to make the rule book thicker to make sure that we cater for every situation and that everything is pretty strict to the point. And well, sometimes it makes it a little bit harder for the teams. Oh, got lost here for a second. Are they going to pick it back up? Yes, so they decided to go to take it back again from the snake, which is usually the best option when you get slightly lost, so you know exactly where you're coming back from.
Yeah. I'm saying that's a discussion that those teams need to have, isn't it? If something does go wrong,
where do we pick it up from?
What do we do? Where do we pick up? And having that clear discussion with your teammate.
No, definitely last year didn't quite finish that move. We can see Greg, who was showing his hands like, what is going on?
So 92.981. It's a little bit of confusion.
All right, so far, nobody is coming even close to the score of Aspire. As a reminder, this is 62.881. And that is the time to beat. Airspace Prospect with Håvard Flats, one of the 2 founding father of dynamic flying with Alex MR, who's maybe watching us from home right now. And now taking under his wings, pun intended, one of the instructor from Airspace. Håvard is going to be one of our judge for the upcoming Sakura Cup in Japan.
Oh, is he? Sounds like this is going to be extremely exciting.
He's also one of the member of the newest working group for dynamic flying at the IPC.
Is he?
He is.
Hovard's got his finger in all the pies.
Yeah, he took a couple years off from super active flight. Ooh. So here we had a center line burst and a bit of a hiccup in the butterfly. That happens sometimes when one of the flyers forgets that he's actually supposed to cross and switch position. And we saw that as they almost landed on top of each other is because one flyer went where he was supposed to go when the other one forgot and went to the same spot.
Yeah.
And now you end up with this kind of pile, which always feels slightly uncomfortable taking each other's hair. But they are powering through, picking it back up and keeping on flying it.
And Hovard knows this dive pool. He knows these rules. He's so built in him that he's able to stop, rethink, refresh. Where are we? And help Giorgio get back onto the same page.
Almost finished here, finishing up the last mixer. They're gonna go back into a layout bottom loop, back on their head, and then cross that center line and exit the tunnel.
Quite high up. And there are big smiles. 132.340. So that will put them bottom of this group at the moment for round 3, a speed round.
Right, up next, Airspace Unleashed, who has proved that they can be some of the fastest team in there. Those guys are definitely one of the team we have our eyes on. They haven't been training together for a really long time, but they intend on sticking together with the support of Airspace. They have a lot of really awesome projects coming up. Very passionate, sometimes too much for their own good, but so much potential. And I really look forward to seeing everything that they will bring to the sport in the upcoming years.
So sometimes it's just a little delay as the judges are making sure they've got all the scores correct, updating those scores as well. As you can see, you've got the live scoring. And what you won't see there is the free round scores, as we're going to wait until all of the free rounds have been done. Otherwise, the scoreboard would look extremely confusing.
And Airspace Unleashed is about to fly their speed rounds at 80% of the tunnel. They are the only team, together with the Vipers, to have chose that speed. That's the fastest speed that a speed round is going to be flown at, which gives you an advantage in speed, but also can be tricky if you make the slightest mistake. You're going to shoot up way faster and having a hard time coming back from it. So it is definitely a bet.
Very tactical move, isn't it? So it's a bit of a gamble. Could go well, could pay off, help you fly extra fast, but it could also cost you those precious seconds or fractions of seconds that could end up changing your position completely within the round.
Well, it definitely matches their style. They're very energetic, very aggressive, very young and full of energy. And you can see that in their flying in the free routine as well. And definitely now in the speed round, flying fast, flying close to the lines. And I think we're about to see a really fast score. See how those bottom loop, the energy they put into it, the rotation, the speed of the rotation. And ooh, that's going to be a sideline. Whoop. Yeah, that's, I think, a sideline bust. That's unfortunately going to cost them 5 seconds, which is a shame because their row score seems like it's about to be really fast. They're down now with their final mixer. They just need to go into the compulsory exit. And out they go.
One burst and a total time of 72.065. So that looks like that puts them just behind Gravity, who are in 4th place currently. But remember, we've still got a lot of teams to fly. Next up is the 3rd airspace team, Airspace Prospects 1. So flying quite high up, they've got quite a long way down to come for the butterfly. So 2 bursts, they need to not let that get to their heads. They need to keep trying to fly clean.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult when you see those lines turn red. You can either get a push from it, telling yourself, oh my God, I really need to get my act together and fly better. Sometimes also it can be a bit discouraging, and especially if you don't understand necessarily what you've been busting on. Some teams are struggling to keep their head cool. And that's one of the things about competing and being a good competitor. It's not just about being a good flyer. It's very much so about being in mastering your own mind and making sure you control your emotion and then you use them and utilize them to your benefit. It's something I tell people all the time in big ways, right? Like, you're gonna feel stress, you're gonna feel your heartbeat raise, you're gonna feel your hands sweat. But now you can turn that into your advantage or into your disadvantage. You can either use this energy to become the best of yourself or lose it. And that's what being a good competitor is.
Oh, I think they've just seen that number of bursts, 7 bursts with a time of 1:21, which looks like it puts them third from the bottom at the moment. Remember, we still have lots of teams left to fly. So yes, what Domi was saying about it being a head game, it's huge mentally, isn't it? It's nothing prepares you for that shock of when you do see those red lights.
Yeah, it's again one of the difference with outdoor skydiving is that when you don't get the results straight away, you don't get direct feedback on what's going on, and it's something that teams need to learn how to deal with.
So we have Guillaume and Malachi, who I spoke to Malachi's dad earlier. He gets called Chewie, so I have to find out the story behind that, unless you know already.
I actually don't. Let's hope it's Star Wars related.
Look at him, visor down, moustache on. Fly that tash, Malachi.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the young hopes of the score. He's such a good sportsman, very awesome attitude, very motivated, and so talented for his age.
I'm really excited to see what he's going to bring to freestyle as well.
Yeah, and they're flying at 73%, which isn't that high for Guillaume, but definitely not low for Malachi, and that's something that you need to take into consideration when you have two team members of such different weight and size, because basically when it's faster, it's going to make Malachi potentially faster because he's got more power to go back and forth, but for all the moves that goes up and down, it's making it more difficult for him to go down. It needs to be straighter, faster, stronger, pushing down. So it's both an advantage and an inconvenience, and you need to play around with those two different body types in the wind tunnel.
And that's really working together as a team, getting that wind speed set, making that decision. Exactly what wind speed do we fly on? It's making a compromise. There would be an ideal wind speed for Malachi, an ideal wind speed for Guillaume, but it's finding that balance, finding out what works best for them. 2 bursts out of the tunnel, 85.948. So it looks like they're going just below Women of Steel, just above Hurricane Factory Madrid. Who have we got up next, Domi?
And up next, we'll see Aerogravity Fast Web with the Matteos, Matteo Petatini and Matteo Conti. I really like this team, I have to admit.
They seem to smile a lot. I can't help smiling when I see them. Oh.
Starting off with a bust, unfortunately. A bit offset here on their butterfly, and that's something that everybody that has ever competed in the wind games probably know, is that the line setup is slightly offset compared to the building, and in theory it shouldn't matter, right? The lines are the lines, and it's exactly perpendicular to the center line is right on the door, so it should be pretty straightforward. But because the walls are slightly offset, sometimes your brain is tricking you into thinking this is the line that you should fly, and especially for invited team, it can make it a little bit difficult.
Now, this must be very confusing and unsettling for them. 7 busts. I believe a lot of those were centerline busts as well, Domi.
It would seem so. I am not 100% sure that what we see on the screen, what it says, it's always what it is, because there was definitely a case earlier where it says execution line, and I'm pretty sure it was a sideline. So I will investigate on this later and make sure I'll update you. All right, getting out of the tunnel, unfortunately, with 9 busts, quite a lot, making a total score of 131,384.
And it looks like that puts them just above Airspace Prospects 2. Next up is the Dynamos from Britain. We've got Jamie Arnold and Dan Guest. 2 awesome guys. Jamie always puts on a bit of a show when he's in the antechamber. Oh, maybe no time for it though today.
All right, and as a reminder, the time to beat is Aspire with 62.881, which is almost 5 seconds faster than the second time. So Team Aspire definitely leading massively in this round. But coming up next, we have now the Dynamos and then Windor DC, the Vipers, and Windor GB, which are some of the fastest team in the world. So let's see if they can challenge this 62 from the Aspire.
So clean round so far.
Looking good, finishing up this second page on the 43-second mark. About to start the third page now. Into the butterfly, crossing on top, crossing one more time, getting back to the original slots. And now the head down part of the mixed circles, into the head up. And then now finishing the move, gonna do bottom loop and then cross that sideline once, twice and get out with a final clean score of 75.502.
Another clean round. Well done, Dynamos.
Definitely a little bit of time wasted at the end here. Flyer number 2, I believe that's done. Kind of took a bit of a wide layout to get out the door. Probably lost around a second here. And Windor DC, one of the big favorites. I believe they've won round 1, one of the fastest team in the world. They are a little bit coming out of nowhere this season. I mean, Cesar has been competing for a few years and was definitely in one of the top teams for a couple years. But Danny is this little wonder that has started competing just a year ago. I remember when I was training with Cathy, he was a young instructor, just started, was barely learning to fly on his head, and that was, what, a year and a half ago or something? And now he's showing it how it's done to everybody here. And he also has the best attitude, is humble, kind, nice, giving back. He definitely deserves everything that's happening to him now. And to me, it's really amazing to see him fly the way he is now.
I think we're going to see big things from Danny, and he's just such a nice guy. He's
so fast. So look at them really playing with those lines. Getting close. Remember, 62 seconds is the time to beat. Are they going to do it?
Oh, yes. 60.569.
Wow. They did it indeed. That's incredible. Really, really good round for the local boys. Windor DC, D for Danny, and C for Cesar. And now up next we have the Vipers, followed by the Windor GB.
So we've got 3 incredibly fast teams here at the finishing off round 3. Vipers are about to get in, Anjay and Josh.
And remember, those guys can see the results on the screen that's behind the judges, and you can be sure that they're looking at it. And when they go into this round, they know what's the time to beat. They know if the teams before them had any bust, and that definitely influences the way they're going to fly. Those guys know that if they're going to beat that 60 seconds, they need to go as fast as they can. So no cautious here. They have to take risks. They have to play with those lines, and that's what they're doing right now, and it's looking pretty good.
But watching these last 3 teams is just really special.
Right now,
so much talent.
They are starting the vertical of their third page on the 30-second mark, which means that they could finish in less than 60 seconds. They really have no room for hesitation here. They need to keep shredding to the bitter end and be really efficient with their exits. Okay, keeping close to the ring here, keeping low, that's also another one. On all the moves where you don't have to clear the ring, you want to stay as low as possible because then you don't waste any time going up and down. Ooh!
Oh, clean next. Oh, 61.773.
So that is the second overall. I believe that's just before Team Aspire, but not as fast as Windor DC.
What are Windor GB going to bring though? That's Josh and Luke.
Some friendly rivalry here, because they know that their teammates are the team to beat, and they are competing together in four-way, but they are the biggest rival in two-way, because those two teams training probably about the same amount. I would assume that they train together, rotating with each other when they train in two-way. So the game is definitely on here.
And they're in.
Time to beat, 60 seconds, 5, 6, 9. Very quick inversion here from Josh. Let's see how he goes from head down to head up really, really fast, throwing a lot of energy into this transition. And we were mentioning earlier, to be fast, you need to have short lines, but you also need to put a tons of energy into your move.
So we've seen that anything can happen in these speed rounds. Flight Fighters in Gravity Bahrain, Luke ended up going way up high in the tunnel, and that was in the final, I think. Anything can happen, you know, the time, it's split seconds between them. I can't wait to see what's going to happen now. So 60 is the time to beat.
So close. Ooh, little mishap here.
Oh, and I think that little bump could have cost them. Yeah, 61.721. I know that the team in second place got 61.
That is just a tiny bit faster than Vipers. Vipers at 61.771 and Windor GB is 61.721. Wow, Emma, a lot of those last four teams just pretty much rocked our world here. The team Aspire has set the bar very high at the beginning of the round, and then we didn't see anybody really come close to challenging them until the very last four rounds, and then one after another getting close and then beating them in the Windor DC. Wow.
But it's that, do you know what it is? You know, we start off with Aspire, they're so fast. You know, we go through the teams and then we finish off with these last three that just get our hearts racing every time.
That was really incredible. Let's take a look at the result now. So in first place, Windor DC, definitely taking the lead here with an incredibly fast score.
But, Domi, I've just noticed that Vipers are yet to be scored, so we can't quite give you a full rundown of what is going on with the Vipers. We know Vipers are going to be up there somewhere.
Well, Vipers, I believe, were judged with a bust, and I assume that if they're not scored right now, it's probably because there's some review going on. So potentially, if that bust was taken out, that would maybe make a difference.
It's going to be very interesting. I would not want to be one of the judges right now. Some big decisions, some big reviews to make. So hopefully we will be getting those updated scores.
Well, actually, let me get back on that. The Vipers were scored with no bust. So if they're not judged yet, is that the review's going on, maybe there's a bust in there. So that would be a big game changer from them, because those top teams are so close to one another. If you had 5 seconds to the game, it's going to be very different.
I can't believe this is only day one, Domi.
It is only day one, but with the level of competitors that we have here, we definitely have to expect this kind of excitement, and well, that's what the Win Games are all about.
Exactly, it certainly is. So now I think we're going to be heading over to have a look at one of our sponsors' videos.
And then we'll be back with you very shortly.
realmente crees en ello, cualquier cosa es posible.
Two-Way Dynamic. En la competición podemos disfrutar de dos tipos de ronda, las Free Rounds y las Speed Rounds. En las Free Rounds, o rondas libres, cada equipo realizará una coreografía artística libre sin elementos obligatorios a la que llamamos rutina. La duración de cada rutina es de 60 segundos. Los jueces, previamente a la competición, han valorado las rutinas libres, la técnica y la dificultad, y durante la competición solo valorarán la ejecución. Esta ronda es la más visual y permite que cada equipo pueda innovar y desarrollar nuevas figuras marcando un estilo propio. El otro tipo de rondas son las Speed Rounds o rondas de velocidad. Previamente a la competición se ha realizado un sorteo donde se eligen las secuencias obligatorias para cada ronda. Posteriormente, en cada ronda de velocidad, cada equipo debe realizar estas 3 secuencias de ejercicios obligatorios 3 veces seguidas. El ganador es el equipo que finaliza en el menor tiempo posible y sin penalizaciones. Las penalizaciones. Como podéis observar en la imagen, en el centro del túnel y enfrente de la puerta existe una línea vertical de LEDs blanca que se llama Centerline. A 90 grados a cada lado de la Centerline existen 2 tipos de línea verticales, una de LEDs verdes y otra de LEDs azules, llamadas Sidelines, con un agujero en medio, la mirilla. A través de las 2 mirillas existe una línea horizontal imaginaria a la que llamamos línea de Bast. No se puede tocar esta línea en ciertos movimientos o si no habrá una penalización llamada Bast. Un equipo tiene Bast cuando no realiza correctamente alguno de los movimientos obligatorios, cuando atraviesa la línea Bast cuando el movimiento no está permitido, o cuando realiza uno de los movimientos atravesando de manera incorrecta alguno de los cuadrantes. Cuando haya un Bast, oiremos una bocina y las líneas de LEDs azules y verdes se pondrán rojas. Eso supone una penalización de 5 segundos extras en el tiempo total final del equipo. La penalización skip. Un equipo es penalizado con un skip cuando omite alguno de los movimientos obligatorios. Si el equipo hace un skip, se irá una bocina y las líneas de LED azules y verdes pasarán a rojo. Eso supone una penalización de 20 segundos extras en el tiempo total final del equipo. Si te ha gustado este vídeo, no dudes en darnos like, suscríbete al canal y síguenos en nuestras redes sociales.